and welcome to The Bond, where we learn how to bond with nature. So, peaceful hounds means peace abounds, and that is a way that we know that if we treat our dogs properly, that we can actually help use the dogs to treat our communities properly. And one way of doing that is by teaching our dogs to learn to be therapy dogs. And that means the human has to learn something too. So we are back with another visit from Wendy of Noah's Ark Dog Training. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Wendy, for being here again and for giving us more insights into how to get our dogs into being therapy dogs. So with that, I wanted to start by asking you, if that's all right, how social media interacts with the people in your virtual community. So for example, do you ever ask other therapy dog handlers to post a little video or something about a certain topic?
Well, not really. I haven't ever asked that. It's a good idea. I actually posted, I post videos sometimes of my dogs doing tricks, or one time we were in the park and Putter was sitting there and this little kid was going by really fast on skates and he was just sitting there and, you know, he didn't move. And so I put that video on there and I said, you know, is your dog ready for therapy work? You know, because...
Oh, like a nice little test with outside distractions and all that?
Yeah.
So speaking of tricks, can you tell me what is the definition of a trick and how does that differ from, is a trick like telling your dog to sit or is that something else?
Good question. Commands or cues are sit, down, stay, come when called. And those are things that are important when you want your dog to be a good citizen. So
a very good citizen, right.
And you want him trained, you have to have those because some people will say, oh, my dog knows he can, you know, sit and give me a paw and, you know, which tricks, I love tricks, but if you do therapy dog work, sometimes, you know, certain dogs you don't really want a paw from a Great Dane, but tricks are fun, like paw, sit pretty, spin, roll over, of course, that's everyone loves roll over, and those are actually fun, and dogs enjoy them, and especially if you have a really hyperactive dog, they, you know, you want to do tricks because, you know, you get them spin enough times, they can calm down, right? That's a calming when they're circling. So,
but not for the dogs that are about the size of miniature horses like a Bichon Frise or a Great Dane or something like that, right?
But they can spin, but, you know, you want to stand back, but and roll over.
Can you demonstrate a little bit?
Right, so I can try.
Well, how about this? Why don't I ask you a couple more questions first, because I'd really like to know a little bit more also about the sort of the behind the scenes social life of all of the dog trainers. I always envision that they get together and start talking about the different places that they visited, the convalescent homes or the schools. Can you tell me a little bit about what the behind the scenes social life is of dog trainers?
So, well, you mean for the therapy dog handlers?
For the therapy dog handlers.
The dog trainers have a lonely life because you're basically working on your own, and you know, the other people that train dogs are your competition.
Oh, no.
You know? So unless you work for a company, but the therapy dog handlers, I actually do walks every month. And they're fellowship walks, and so we get together and we walk our dogs, and also, you know, we get together, we have like a annual lunch, or we get together and, you know, go
visit a home or something.
Or we walk our dogs and have coffee, but yeah, we do get together and, you know, do those group activities where we go to the nursing homes, and that's the volunteer thing, or the schools. And yeah, that's like really fun, you know, because I don't have kids or I don't really have family, you know, my husband, but so I have a lot of time, and that's like my social life, because then I can go meet people, and then, you know, at least I'm not sitting home like by myself, and I'm getting out. So when you volunteer, it makes you feel better. Not only that are you giving to the community, but you feel better.
Because the community gives back to you.
And you're not thinking about, you know, all your problems, right? But, So,
everybody has problems. I'm sure dog trainers have problems also. But the thing that I really like about your methodology is that you're being very active in giving back to the community by sharing comfort. I view these fuzzy little dogs as sharing comfort. They're little messengers, little fur angels. And so I would love to know a little bit more about that. But first, we need to take a very short break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Wendy to give us a couple of demonstrations of just a casual type of tricks that maybe you could also teach your dog at home. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And so we're here with Wendy from Noah's Ark Dog Training, and she trains people to train therapy dogs or to get your dog into a therapy dog test so that you can go ahead and visit people in your community. So thank you, Wendy. Again, we're back from break, and I understand that you've got a couple of very simple, basic tricks that people can teach their dogs at home. Could you show us an example?
right. So when we had, COVID, we couldn't actually go into the nursing home. So we did it online, and we had to do tricks to entertain. Mm-hmm. So some easy tricks that you can do, and my dogs work for food, so I always use treats. But
okay.
So basically, a command is sit, stay, down, and your dogs do have to know the commands to do those tricks too. But because I do have to hear, put her, sit. Okay, good. And so an easy trick is a paw, or give me a paw, or whatever. So you just hold the treat above their paw until they lift it up. No, don't lay down. Sit, put her. But you have to hold the treat 2 inches above their paw, and then they start lifting it.
Okay.
So paw. Okay. Good. Okay, he did. He lifted his paw. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's paw. And then the other one is actually shake a paw. Here, come over here. Sit. Shake. Good. Yeah. And so
bravo.
He can't shake because not all dogs can do every trick because he can't really. He's got too much weight. He can't put up his paw.
Physically just a little bit more challenging. Yeah. Okay, so what is he playing with right now? It looks like he's
got Bill.
He's very
and she wasn't done. Anyway, she was doing one more. And then high five is when they kind of
Oh, how cute.
So it's 3 in 1. Okay. And then that's Belle, which
but the shake, the paw and the high five
shake
is all basically the same command. It just is where you're placing the treat.
It's 3 in 1, so it counts as 3 tricks.
Excellent. I like that. It's like a bargain.
Yeah. And then the Belle is actually you know, if you did train them at home, you just put some peanut butter on here, and you know, of course they're going to hit. But the key is if they do hit it, I mean, they have to hit it. You know, sometimes you know you don't hear it, but they are hitting it. But so I put the bell, and then I just tell them, you know, bell. Okay, he did good. Roxy, ring the bell. Bell.
Them to maybe ring if it's by your door. Oh, beautiful! I saw that. But is a bell something that you can put by your front door in case they need to go out? Can you train them to say, when you need to go potty, ring the bell so that I know to let you outside?
Yeah, when you put it, you can put it by the door and you just hit it and you go potty, and then you walk them outside.
Oh, so
every time they go potty.
So they associate the potty with the bell and then going outside immediately. So you do that enough times and then they start associating just the ringing of the bell out there.
Right, but then, bell, good. But then sometimes they'll just keep ringing the bell to go outside, so, you know, they just do it to go out.
Okay, but still, it's a way that they can communicate with you.
Right.
So, as opposed to just barking, right? So it's a very polite way of doing things. So what are other tricks that they can do?
So then I have, you know.
And then are these tricks that you would share in a school or a home, or are they?
Usually we do for the nursing homes, we have a little show, but for schools, we don't really bring the tricks and treats out.
So just to get them to
because then you get that, but they get too excited. Some dogs get too excited.
How do you make sure that the dogs are getting enough exercise so that they sleep well at night? You know, like people, we all need our exercise.
I take them they get a couple walks. So we take them in the morning and we take them in the evening, and we go to the park and we go to the dog beach. Come on, Putter.
And how are they with working with other dogs in the dog park?
They like to see other dogs, so they usually want to meet every dog on the walks, and sometimes too excited to meet other dogs. And
so you don't do tricks when you go to a convalescent home or to a school?
We do at the convalescent home.
But not at the school. Is it because the kids get too excited?
Sometimes, because it's a rule, because if you get the dogs playing and the kids, that's when there could be, you know, just like see how excited he got, I could get scratched or something.
Oh, and that's not good for the dogs.
And there's
for the people.
There's no toys, because then the dogs, you know, some dogs, like she loves toys. So if I had a toy, she would be interested, and then she forgets why she's there. So she's supposed to be there for the kids, but then if I had a toy, she would be, you know, playing with the toy. Or if I had a ball, then forget it. You know, she wouldn't be paying attention to you.
So let me see if I understand. So as far as when you're taking your therapy dogs to the different organizations, if you're going to a school, no tricks, no treats, just let the children pet them or read to them. And then if I'm going to a convalescent home, because the adults need a little bit more drawing out, it's okay to do a couple of treats or bring a toy for the dog to get them to be more interactive with the adults.
It depends. You know, I mean, because you would have like a little area where you would do some tricks, you know, or maybe sometimes it would involve a toy.
Like on a stage, like a set apart.
It's not really a stage, but you know, it's like a big
people
living
are watching.
room. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have a little area, like
a little
here,
theater.
You know, and we usually, I mean, we don't bring toys so much because that sets off the dogs, but.
Okay, so leave the toys and the treats for home when you're doing bonding with your dogs at home as a personal dog. But when they're working and they're acting in their therapy capacity, then you really want to give people the ability to pet them and really have that bond, that connection with petting and having that tactile sensation.
Yeah, and not all therapy dog groups allow treats. So, you know, some you can't use them on the Plus, you know, I had this nurse where I used to visit. She'd give my dog a treat every time, and then every time we'd go, he'd want the treat from her, and
he'd expect it.
Right. So, and then he'd lose interest. But yeah, you know, it's better not to use the treats.
I understand. This one time, I was living near a wilderness, and one of my neighbors had a little red car, and one day my car needed to go to the repairs, and I got a little red car as a rental. And when I got to work early one morning and I was driving along, and I noticed I had about a dozen deer following me, like they were stalking me. And it was only later that I found out that my neighbor who had the red car would have a bag of corn on their driver's seat, and every morning they would drive out and they'd throw corn out the window. And so they were training that when the red car comes by, that's food. And I didn't realize that until my neighbor told me. So it sounds like very much like your nurse's story, where you're saying if you give them food all the time, then they get used to that.
It's like Pavlov's dog. They
Yes,
ring the bell.
exactly.
Condition response.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. So I want to say thank you so much, Wendy, again, for giving us this insight into, again, the behind the scenes social structure of all of the therapy handlers, and also learning how we can come to Noah's Ark dog training if we want to get our dogs to be a little more leveled up and learn how to be therapy dogs also.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, it's been a pleasure. So we
thank
really
you so
enjoyed
much.
it.
So I just wanted to say, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but we had a great experience with Wendy. She shared with us what we do when we're with institution for children at a school versus older adults in a home or a facility that takes care of them, or even something that's targeted for needing trauma therapy or even memory help. So we just want to say thank you for tuning in today. We know that you have a choice, and we really appreciate that you want to learn how you can bond better with nature and with your community, and how therapy dogs might be one way that you can do that. So thanks for tuning in, and until we bond again.